Welcome to Digital Literacy. We are now going to begin Learning Unit 2. Our learning outcomes today is to define digital literacy and explain how computers, the internet, and search engines work. We'll also be evaluating websites based on the principles of digital literacy. We'll be applying the information fluency process and explain the different tools used on the internet. Lastly, we'll be applying the media and collaboration fluencies, defining digital footprint, and discuss the ramifications of a personal digital footprint. Let's get started. First, I just want to do a little bit of an intro into what exactly Learning 2 is. You need to understand what digital literacy means and also how we determine the authenticity of a website and determine its credibility. We'll also be looking once again into the 5 fluency skills. We'll be discussing information, media, and collaboration fluency. So you might have remembered from Learning Unit 1, there was those 5 fluency skills that when you're online and on your applications and the internet, you're learning different skills, and there are those 5 skills. So in this learning unit, we're going to discuss 3 of those skills today. Let's get started on our work. The introduction firstly starts off with, you might be interested to know that since 2016, there was an average of the Google 2.3 million searches per second. I'm pretty sure by now, 2020, this has increased quite a bit. And that just means that there's a lot of information out there. When you are trying to search for something that you don't know the answer to, there's so many websites, so many articles, so many blogs, etc. Back in the day, before technology and social media, you would probably just ask your mom and she'd say, go and look in the dictionary. Nowadays, you can just Google onto your cell phone and you'll find the correct answer right there. And this happens quite a lot. If you have a textbook and you just Googling that answer in that kind of interpretation in the textbook, you could tell your lecturer, which isn't that quite nice, but you could tell them, hey, this is quite outdated. There's more to this. I mean, it does add that little bit of a discussion there. So what they're trying to make here as a point is there's so much information out there. How do you know that some of these websites are real and which ones are fake? So when you're Googling and you're looking onto these websites, how do you know you're on a real website? Have you thought about it? They say in terms of the Internet Live stats that there is 70% of websites out there that are not active sites, which means that you could be looking information that's completely untrue, irrelevant, or just completely opinion-based. So how do we check that these sites are real? How do we know that we are on a real, authentic site? We're going to learn about this in the next part of our work. But firstly, let's define digital literacy. So we have Ribble's definition here, which is it's the ability to use information and communication technologies to find, evaluate, create, and communicate information, requiring both cognitive and technical skills. So it's you as the individual, the ability to search online, to evaluate your research or your images, whatever you want to do online or on the computer or in those applications, and composing and writing, so forth. So digital literacy is basically saying that you have the ability to use this application or use the software, use this sort of piece of website to your advantage, collaborate online. So let's just say, for example, I am digitally literate in both Microsoft, Excel, and Word, and PowerPoint. I know how to work those things. I know how to create on there. I know how to collaborate. But I'm not digitally literate in Photoshop. And this can happen with a lot of you. I mean, you could have digital literacy skills in certain applications, but not in all aspects. Some of you might not know how to work TikTok or Snapchat, but some of you might be able to do that. And that's the difference between those digital literacy skills. You might also note that in high school, they're starting to incorporate more technology and allowing students at a very young age to be able to work on different platforms, on different social media applications, being able to use technology at a younger age. Not necessarily this is a good thing when too young age, children are on technology, but that's a debatable topic. For now, I just want to know, what skills would a digitally literate person have? They just go into here the 5 different skills, and I'll mention a few of them because we can always read through this in our examples. But it's saying here that You have skills that are both technical in nature and intellectual. You can find things, create, understand them in terms of all the wide variety of formats. Another skill which I'm going to mention here is number 3, the understanding the relationship between technology use and the responsibility of this information. Even though you might have a right to access information out there to educate yourself, you have a responsibility that when you are online to act appropriately. And this goes back to our digital rights and responsibility, which is our 5th element, which we'll get to much later in our work. Okay, how computers work. So let's turn to our module outline, module manual, and kind of look into how do computers work. So there is an example that you can read to yourself, and they just go into the origins of the internet and how the internet started a long, long time ago. The internet is a network of networks. So each computer is connected by the Internet Protocol or IP, and the computers need to communicate to each other. How a message should be sent off, and these are known as packets. So the computers need to communicate to each other through something, and that is known later as well as the router to be sent through. And then is usually an agreement, which could be seen as the rules, known otherwise as protocols. So just to put it basically simply again, the computers can't simply connect, they need to communicate to each other, or how a message will be addressed to each other and how it will be passed on. And therefore there is an agreement which you can just call as rules, otherwise known as protocols, or the transmission control protocol there. Okay, the next page in your model manual, page 45. Okay, the rules protocols are named transmission control protocol. So the message that needs to be kind of sent off into the air. If you've watched Willy Wonka, I think it's both of them, you'll see those little bits of information kind of traveling through the air, and they must complete a complete picture to the other side. So the message will be broken down to get to the other side of the computer, and those broken bits of information, we just call them packets. The packets have those instructions of how to create the complete message to the other computer. The packets get sent through the internet using routers, and that's how they get passed along. So it's just giving you a little bit of an idea of how they fit together and how they complete the picture to the other side and how they connect. Okay, how computers work. The packets have the instructions of how the computer on the other side must put it together, and therefore this is just how the message is traveling to the computer and how they communicate to each other. How do search engines work? When we search in Google, we are using in terms of a search engine like in the Google or Bing.com. And there are these software that deploys robots called spiders. So when you're typing something, kind of picture like there's a little spider in the Google web, let's call it. And they're going to look for keywords of what you've said. They're going to keep an index of those words that they find. And then this is called indexing of the page, also known as web crawling. And once they've used enough of exactly what you're looking for, they'll present it to you. Okay, so let me know if you have any more questions about that to your lecture as well, to understand exactly the difference between how the computers work and how search engines work. But so far, just kind of think of it as you're Googling there, and there's spiders going to go and find keywords. They're going to be indexing the page and searching for relevant things that you're looking for. They find this info, they break it down into packets using TCP, so the info gets sent through routers and switches to the computer for query. Okay, the next section we're going to start off with is website verification. Let's get started.